Welcome back to the channel, everybody. So tonight I'm going to be time for you a rusty spinner. This is a biot style rusty spinner. This one's got the 3 split tails, and there's a little bit of a technique to make those happen and keep them looking great. Well, let's get started. Sometimes I like to throw these things whenever I am, midge fishing, mostly, kind of in the wintertime where the blue wings are doing their stuff. And I notice, in the afternoon that fish are eating on the surface, but they're not really taking my midge dry flies. So I'll just throw on a rusty spinner and see what happens. And more often than not, I start getting hits on this stuff. So, I just turned off my light, picking up my microfibet tail, so I'm going to cut that back on. Alright, so sometimes I'm using these microfibets, and what I'll do is I'll stick them in my hair sacker, and I'll just kind of bounce them a little bit just to get them nice and even. That way I know they're perfect. And you want to make your tails just slightly longer than the body. You don't want to go way too long, because these things don't really collapse as well as, say, like hackle fiber would. And you don't want the fish pushing this out of their mouth as they take it in. So I did 3 wraps. So 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to take my nail, I'm going to come up underneath them, kind of give them a little push. And that'll kind of start to break them up, get them on the sides that they're supposed, that they're on. I'm going to take the one that's on the left side, move it over to the left. Take the one that's on the right side, move it over to the right, so that we can start to split these dudes. Got that one. Now I got that one. So that's just a rough split. Now if you don't do this next technique, they'll just go back straight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my thread, I'm going to come up and over the far side, the middle tail, and go under the far side. And then you got to have really good thread control. Then I'm going to come underneath that wrap and go to the other side of the near side tail, and then I'm going to wrap moving forward. And that will pretty much split those tails perfect for you. You may have to kind of finagle them just a little bit after that, but you pretty much get a perfect split tail. And from there, I just bring it up, clip off the ends, and I'm going to use a biot for this. And these are goose biots. And the thing with those, if you tie it in and you don't know which way the notch should go, get it tied in. Take a couple wraps with it, see if it is behaving in the manner that you want. Whether that's going to be, ridge up or ridge down. And if it's not, well then unwrap it, flip it over, go for it. It should be good. I'm doing notch down this time. We'll drop a little Sally Hinton's on there. Grab my hackle pliers. And start to wrap this bad boy. Actually, I'm doing, notch up on this, excuse me. come in and trim those out. Clean that up. Now for wing, I'm going to be using some Zelon, some standard Zelon. Nothing crazy. As you can see, I brought that under the far side. That way I'm not having to try and tie it in. It's already there. I'm going to get 1, 2 wraps right on top. And 1, 2. There's your X wrap. Now those are pretty much where they're going to be. Then I'll go right behind, and this will be where I tie in my badger hackle. I'll bring this in kind of low. So hopefully I'm not having to fight too much of this. Oop, a little too far back. There we go. Right there. That's where I want it. Kick that up. And then from there, I'm going to go ahead and start with some super fine and rusty brown, of course, because we're doing a rusty spinner. And less is always more with this. So I'm going to make an extremely thin noodle. And I may even have to end up putting more on here. We'll see. We'll dub right up to my wings. I'll do a little figure 8 around them. Sorry, I'm all fingers. I'm just manipulating the wings. I get at least one behind. Keep my dubbing tight. I'll make my way back up to the front. Just square it off a bit and then down. Then from here, I'll go ahead and start a hackle. Make it jump up on that dubbing. There we go. Right up behind that wing. There's my third wrap. And jump off. Pull everything, sweep everything back. Get a couple of wraps. Now it's time for the whip finish. Couple 3-turn whip finishes. Looks like I'm going to have to clean up one. Sorry about that, my camera died. So it looks like I'm going to have to... You know what, that may be better served grabbing it with a pair of tweezers. Yep, instead of trying to cut it. Then from here, I'm going to pull my wings straight up, and I want them to be just a tad bit longer than the hackle. Cut those straight across. Then I'll kind of finagle everything. Everything moved around a little bit. Make sure my wings are splayed. Tails are sitting perfect. A figure eight does take a little practice, but with some time you'll get it. Gotta have real good thread control. Then I'm gonna turn it up, and I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna trim the fibers off the bottom because I want this to sit pretty low in the water. And really the hackle there is one to, help float. But two, it's also there to give that nice wide profile because sometimes those spinners, their wings, they got a couple sets and they will splay out on the water. And one reason why I like using this badger hackle is because it's got that dark stem, so it doesn't quite show as much, even though you can see them here some. Some of those white fibers tend to kind of start disappearing. It's not the best example, but it's not quite as bad as it would be if it were, say, a grizzly. A grizzly hackle is going to show up a lot more than this is. And you just kind of work it till you get it good and close. That looks really good. And there you go. There's you a rusty spinner. Throw these. You may think it's counterintuitive, but if you have blue wing olives, where you fish, and you saw them hatch earlier, you saw duns earlier, and the evening time comes and you can't see much anymore what they're eating and they're not taking your midges, tie yourself on a rusty spinner and you will be more than likely pleasantly surprised. Twist some up. Let me know how you do. Have a good one.